chapter number 2. Nehemiah chapter number 2, and we'll look at some more about leadership tonight. Nehemiah chapter number 2, and I love the book of Nehemiah, man. I'm telling you, I love it. And chapter number 2, I preached a little bit out of the closing of chapter number 2, but as I read chapter number 2 even again today, man, there's some convicting things in chapter number 2 of Nehemiah. And just a reminder, make sure you don't wait till the very last second to do your homework. Matter of fact, I've already got... If y'all have seen Kelsey look at her husband right there. But anyway, you're halfway done. I've already got some of them turned in. But make sure that you're working on that. As I read through chapter number 2 again today, and even in recent days studying for this lesson, man, there's just some great stuff here. And this book that we're studying, Brother Ryan said this day, we was talking about it, he said it's a good book, but it's a convicting book. It's a convicting book, the book on leadership, and this chapter convicted me. I learned a lot of things out of chapter number 5 in this book. It's leadership and planning. Leadership and planning. And let's look at it tonight. Chapter number 2, of course, Nehemiah in chapter number 1, I'm not going to take time to deal with all of it. You know it. He's viewed the walls of the city. They've been torn down. And in chapter number 2, he's going to do something about it. Verse number 3 says, "And they said unto the king, Let the king live forever. Why should not my countenance be sad when the city, the place of my father's sepulchres, lieth waste, and the gates thereof are consumed with fire? The king said unto me, For what dost thou make request? So I prayed to the God of heaven." Now, I want to say this to you. That's a very interesting phrase right there. He said, "So what do you need?" And Nehemiah said, "Well, before I even say anything else, I'm just going to pray about it." And boy, we better pray before we say things sometimes. But anyway, it goes on to say in verse number 5, "And I said unto the king, if it please the king, and if thy servant have found favor in thy sight, that thou wouldest send me unto Judah, unto the city of my father's sepulchres, that I may build it. And the king said unto me, the queen also sitting by him, For how long shall thy journey be? And when wilt thou return? So it pleased the king to send me." Now watch this. "And I sent him a time. Moreover, I said unto the king, If it please the king, let letters be given to me, to the governor beyond the river, and that they convey me over till I come into Judah." Now, I'm not going to take time to read all of the rest of that, but you know what ends up happening? He sends those letters, and the king gives him what he needs to make the things happen in rebuilding the walls of Jerusalem. Now, how was Nehemiah able to do this? Well, first and foremost, it was because of God, and God had favor on him, and God blessed him. But can I say it this way? Nehemiah knew how to plan, and that's the reason he got done what he got done. Leadership and planning. Here's what John Maxwell said, and you'll need to remember this right here. He said this: "If you fail to plan, then you will plan to fail." Are you with me? If you fail to plan, then you plan to fail. Then you plan to fail. Yesterday and today we've been trying to work on the rest of this year at our church and putting everything down for the rest of this year at our church. And I met with Brother Matt today, and we talked about young adult stuff. And Stephanie and I and Miss Leslie talked yesterday, and we planned. We've never done just a over-the-road trip with our senior citizens at our church, but in August we're going to do that. We're going to Sights and Sounds Theater and going to watch Esther, and man, I'm excited about it. But we're planning that for the end of August, and I'm looking forward to it because Daddy's not going to drive. He's going to sit in the van with Brother Matt. I told him today, I said, "Daddy's not riding with me, and Charles is not riding with you." That's Matt's father-in-law. I said, "I'll take Charles and you take Daddy." So we've already switched them off. But anyway, man, we're going to have a great time. We're going to have a great time at it. But watch this. The reason we are is because we're planning it. We're planning. A lot of people in their life just flies by the seat of their britches. Just, y'all understand what I'm saying about that? And I want to say something to you. If we're going to be good leaders, then we're going to have to learn how to plan things that we do. If you walk into our church office right now, there is a yearly calendar that is on our church office. And just about, we're booked up in missionaries for the rest of this year. Our missions conference, it's already booked. We know what missionaries is coming into it. Our meetings for the year, and I'll say more about that in just a minute. But planning, and I want to say this to you tonight, we as leaders, we have to learn how to plan. We have to learn how to plan. Now, think about a few things with me. Planning and vision. Planning and vision tonight. The Bible said this in Proverbs 29:18, where there is no vision, the people perish. Where there is no vision, the people perish. You know what vision is? Vision is planning. Today, Brother Matt was there, and this Saturday, man, I am so excited about this, but we're kicking off our young adult ministry this Saturday at the church, and we've thrown it around for 14 years, starting one, and man, it's fixing to happen. We had 2 dump truck loads of sand brought today, and freshened the volleyball court up, and Brother Matt and I was talking, and he said, you know, here's what I want to do, and here's what I want to do, here's what I want to do, and he just laid it all out. And he said, preacher, he said, I got a vision to make this a strong group in our church. We went over on the other side of our new Sunday school wing and was looking, and I was showing him, I said, you know, what we're looking at is 80 by 80 in this new sanctuary that we're beginning to sketch out and put the plans together on. And we walked down at the road, Brother Jeremiah, and we looked back up. And he said, now where will it come to? And I said, well, it'll come to right this side of the power pole, and it'll come to right this part of the power pole. And I said, right in there is where to sit at. And he said, well, what about that dirt on that bank? And I said, well, Brother Granville said we can roll all of it right up here and right over here. And I said, now can you see all of that paved with this new paved parking lot going up in this new sanctuary sitting there? And he said, yeah. He said, man, I'm catching your vision, preacher. You see, to be good leaders, there's planning and vision. What do we see happening at our church? What do we see happening in our ministries? What do we see happening with our children? We should have a vision for our children. What do we see going on? Where there is no vision, the people perish. Nehemiah went around in the night and viewed the walls that were broken down by himself. He saw the situation, watch this, with fresh eyes. He had been told about it, but what did he do? He ends up going out and looking at all of it and viewed it with fresh eyes. Here's something you'll want to remember. One of the best ways to get a vision at the place where you are is to walk around the location and see the church or the ministry with eyes of a first-time visitor. Where there is no vision, the people perish. Leadership, planning, and vision. Walk around and look at it from the eyes of a first-time visitor. Now, can I say something to you? You need to remember all aspects of life is going to walk onto that property. There's going to be, in our church, we've got landscapers. That's what they do for a living. Are you with me? So you know what we're going to have to do? Whenever I walk onto that property, I need to look at that, and I've done that today. And boy, there's some big changes here in the next few weeks going to happen at Amazing Grace. I walked onto that property and I viewed that. Now, I'm not a landscaper, Brother Brian, but I tried my best to view it from that viewpoint. We've got people that cleans for a living. So you know what I done? I walked through the church and began to look. And I thought, you know what? Right here's something that we need to touch up. And right here's something that we need to view it with fresh eyes. Set in your service as a first-time visitor. Think about this. Here's something that, and Dad's going to say, oh, me on this, but here's something that it's just that redback church hymnal, blackback Schofield King James Bible. This is just what we do in the Fundamental Independent Premillennial White Horse Riding Baptist Church. If you're visiting with us for the first time, raise your hand. You're our honored guest today. Well, how comfortable really are you when you go somewhere that you know absolutely nobody, them centering you out and pointing you out in front of 200 people? So we don't do that no more at Amazing Grace. We don't ask you to raise your hand. You know what we do? Post-COVID, and we're fixing to start doing it again. One of our men, just like Brother Dakota, sits on the platform now. He'll begin doing this Sunday morning. He'll scan our auditorium as people's coming in, and he'll look to pick out the visitors. And then we've now put a visitor's packet together. And it's a real nice envelope. It's about this tall and about this wide. It's got a letter from me in it. It's got information about our church in it. It's got a pen in it. It's got them silicone bracelets in it if they've got youth. It's got all kinds of things about our church. And you know what he'll do? He'll walk up to them and hand that to them and say, hey, it's good to have you as a first-time visitor today. There's a little packet in there, and if you would fill that card out and drop it in the offering plate, we sure would appreciate it. Viewing it from the eyes of a first-time visitor. I don't want to be pointed out. I don't want to be centered out in front of everybody. Vision. Where do we see our churches going? Where do we see our ministries going? The reason this is so vital is because we can become accustomed to what's around us. We can become accustomed to the gravel going in front of our church being two different colors of white. When we first put it out, it's because it's all we could get. But you let somebody visit your church that does landscaping for a living and they walk back at, you know what they're going to say, Brother Brown? Well, man, they ought to tighten that up. So you know what we fixing to do? We fixing to tear every bit of it out and tear the bushes out around it and everything else and completely redo it. You say, well, we got to be good stewards of the Lord's money. That's being good stewards of the Lord's money. Should His house not look the best of any that we go to during the week? So vision tonight. The church should be well maintained and well manicured. What does a first-time visitor think when they walk onto the church property and see our church for the first time? Nehemiah took vision to the next level when he personally inspected the trouble carefully. He personally done that. This was not a new construction project. It was way more than that. He had a bunch of mess he had to clean up. The walls had been broken down. So he had to clean all of that up. He prayerfully and carefully visualized the situation. And then he done this. Organized a plan to fix it. So you know what I'm going to do tomorrow? Or probably on my way home tonight. I'm going to text a man that just joined our church named Lloyd Johnson that used to own a landscaping business. And I'm going to say, Saturday morning, I need you to come to the church and I need you to tell me exactly what all we need to do to make that look like you would make it look if it was one of your customers. Organize the plan. There is leadership. There's the planning of vision. There's the planning of vision. Motivation, listen to this, without organization is frustration. Can I say that again? Motivation without organization is frustration. Write ideas down and then start prioritizing which ideas or things that need to be repaired, rebuilt, or revived. If you feel overwhelmed by this list, start with a simple ideal first and get a win underneath your belt and then go to the next one. And then go to the next one. A board through the septic line. That was a pretty big project, wasn't it? But now that it's done, I guarantee you feel, you know what? There's more projects because you pointed them out to me that needs to be done at Southside. But now you got a win underneath your belt. It's a vision. And once you get that vision, we begin organizing a plan to move forward with it. So think about this tonight. We've got planning and vision. But then there's planning and communication. He had a vision, Nehemiah did, when he seen it. As he went around and he saw that Jerusalem lieth at waste, he got a vision. But then you know what he had to do? That vision spurred a burden in his heart to want to do something. Then there was planning and, listen to this word, communication. That's a good word, isn't it, Miss Kelsey? Planning and communication. We had a communication clinic at our church the other day. Brother Mike and Miss Amy done a communication clinic and it was good, wasn't it? But think about this. Learning to communicate. Learning to communicate. I've heard preachers say this. I'm just not a people person. Well, you're in the wrong business. I just don't do good talking to people. Well, you better go practice somewhere. You better go practice somewhere. You say, well, that's a deacon's place. Well, you can say whatever you want to, but the truth of the matter is, they coming to you, Hoss. Planning, and then there came the vision and then the communication. Nehemiah did not keep the vision to himself. Look in chapter 2, verse 17. Look what the Bible said. Then said I unto them, you see the distress that we are in, how Jerusalem lieth waste, and the gates thereof are burned with fire. He's relaying his vision to them. Are you following me right there? Watch this. Come, let us build up the wall of Jerusalem, that we be no more a reproach. You know what he done? He began communicating his vision. He was able to inspire other people. Now I want you to listen to me right here, from different occupations. He was able to inspire other people from different occupations. When you read this, there was priests, there was merchants, there was goldsmiths. Yet Nehemiah was able to motivate them to all work on the wall. To all work on the wall. I want to say this to you. When you pastor, you're going to have to be able to talk to the individual and convey your burden and convey your vision to the individual that's 70 years old and went through the 7th grade. You're going to have to make it that simple. Now, I'm not making fun of nobody. I'm being honest with you tonight. I'm trying to help you. But at the same time, can I put it this way? We have those in our church that has practically no education, hardly at all. But then also, I have a man that just joined the church, and his last project that he done was 1,015,000 square feet the building was. And he built it in 10 months. 1,015,000 square feet. If you want to put all that together, that's about 23 acres under roof. So can I just say this? He's a very intelligent man. He's a very smart man. So just saying, we're going to build a building, praise God, the Lord said do it, ain't going to work with him. They saw him, they'll go, yeah, let's do it, man. Where's your shovel? I got a vice president from the hospital that comes to our church. I've got numerous law enforcement. So you know what they're going to say? Where's the cameras going to be? Where's the nearest exit going to be? How are you going to do this? How are you going to do that? You know what the VP from the hospital is going to say? He's going to say, well, let's look at the finances of it. Let's look at the budget of it. Can we cut here? Can we cut there? You know what the other one's going to say? Well, I need to see the blueprints to make sure that you're building it the right way. So you're going to have to learn in your communication. When you get a vision, you're going to have to learn to relay that to everybody. To everybody. You know what Nehemiah done? He was so great at communication. He had everybody up on the wall. The merchants up on the wall. The priest up on the wall. Are you with me? The goldsmith with a sword in one hand and a trowel in the other hand. Why? Because he got a vision. Leadership and planning. He got a vision. And then he learned how to relay that vision to everybody else. You know what? I've not even told my wife everything that I want to see God do at Amazing Grace. And you say, well, why hadn't you told her everything? It would scare her. I definitely hadn't told all the church. It would scare them. But where there is no vision, the people perish. But can I say something? Brother Brown will never build that new auditorium if we just fly by the seat of our britches and don't pay no attention to the money and just nonchalantly go here, nonchalantly. There has to be planning. There was the vision, and then after the vision and his planning, there was communication. I thought about this. He spoke to his people from his heart and not just his head. He spoke to his people from his heart and not just his head. There's some people that you'll win speaking from your head, but you can usually win all people speaking from your heart. There's some of those as long as you can speak from your head, you can show it to them in a presentation, they're going to be with you. But those that don't understand that, it's all got to come from your heart at the end of the day. Think about this. You and the people that are with you are on the same team, so use words like this. We, instead of words like you. We're going to do this. God's going to allow our church to do this. God gave us a Great Day Sunday. God's using our church. Are you with me tonight? Nehemiah was through casting the vision of rebuilding the walls. The men said when he was through casting the vision of rebuilding the wall, look what the men said in verse number 18. Then I told them the hand of my God which was good upon me, as also the king's words that he had spoken unto me. And they said, what did they say? Let us rise up and build. Let us rise up and build. So they strengthened their hands for this good work. You know what he done? In his planning, he viewed it. Then he organized it. You say, how did he organize it? Here's the way he organized it. He went back to the king and he said, hey, would you write letters to the other kings and tell them what I need? So whenever Nehemiah gets ready to start building, everything's in place. He's got the wood he needs. He's got the people You say, what is it, preacher? It was planning. Nehemiah planned. Now I want to say this to you, and then I'm going to move down to this last thing. In communication, there's times that some people just will never catch your vision with you. Well, they just, and I believe Dad and Brother Brian both would agree with me right here. There's some times that people just never catch it. They just never catch it. Sometimes along the way, man, you try your best to help somebody. You try your best to mentor somebody. You try your best to get them involved in things. And you pour, and it's like, do you not see where we're going? Are you not catching this? And I want to say this to you. There comes a time, now this isn't in the book. This is more Barkerology than Edwardsology. But Brother Mike agrees with me because we talked about it. There comes a time where you just have to quit investing to a certain extent. And those, you still love them. You're still good to them. You're still there for them in the midnight hours. But watch this. Those that is going to get in there with you, those, and when I say, we use this word staff a lot of times. When I say that, I'm talking about your leaders. Your deacons, your trustees, your Sunday school teachers. That's not meaning somebody's on payroll. Look, sometimes they just don't catch that vision. You've poured it out to them. This is where we go. And you know what you have to do? You have to move on and find that person that'll catch that vision with you and go with you. So the planning in his vision, the planning in his communication. But now watch this. The planning in his action. He viewed it all as a leader and said, man, this is a mess. He went to the king. The king said, what you need? And he said, well, let me pray about that. That's an important step right there. He said, let me pray about that. I just showed it to you right there in verse number 4. So I prayed to the God of heaven. After he prayed about it, he said, here's what I need. He began to tell the king, first of all, what he needed. And he got everything. He organized it. He got it all together. And he stood up and he said, let's build the wall. And they said, let's do it. So now you've communicated it. You've organized it. You've had a vision for it. What's next? Let's put planning into action. Let's do something now. Planning and action. Have you ever met that person that they was going to turn the world upside down? You ever met that young preacher, man? They start preaching and boy, they're going to get it done. And a month later, you're like, I thought they was going to get it done. Let me tell you what happened. They may have had vision. They may have communicated, but they never put it in action. They never put it in action. What good is it to have a vision? What good is it to organize it? What good is it to communicate it if you're not going to act on it? There was his action. What did he do? He done it. He says this, now it's time to put planning into action. I know it is great to look at Nehemiah and all that he did, but at the heart of the matter is how can I put planning into action where I am? When I think about leadership and planning, I think about planning as it relates to your calendar, your week, and even your day. What about the calendar? Personally, I like to break down my calendar into these distinct sections, and I do the same thing right here. By the year, by the next 6 months, and then by the next 3 months, these months and the months and then the weeks. And he goes on to say, what do I mean by breaking the calendar down by the year? There's some main events that we know that's going to happen each year at our church. Our revival in the early part of the year, we usually do one about January. And then we usually do one at the end of April, the beginning of May, and hits here in just a couple of weeks. Brother Mark Stroud will be with us, and then Brother Granville will close it out. And then us, we try to do this. We was doing a real good job at it till 2020 hit. We sit down and we plan the foothills out the beginning of the year, everything that we're going to do with foothills, and that way we can take it, we can put it in our church calendar, which we as pastors already have our church calendar done before we come to that. And then we plan all of those things for foothills and we put those in there. So if you go in our church office right now, you'll see a year calendar. It's a dry erase board. And it's got everything for the year. It's got our big meetings. It's got everything with foothills in it. Me, I block out the week before youth camp and the week after youth camp. You say, why? Well, the week before is for planning and making sure everything else is coming together. The week after is to die. It's just to lay at the house for the week. It's to go to the camper on the mountain and stay for a week. Are you with me right there? But we block everything out. You say, preacher, why do I need to do that? You'll never accomplish anything unless you learn to plan. Unless you learn to plan. So we look at it as those things. Your special meetings as your pastor and your Christmas play. Do you have a Christmas play? Daddy loves Christmas plays. Do you have a Christmas play? And those things go in it. Now watch this. Then you plan out your 6 months, you plan out your 3 months, and then you know what we done today? Or let me back up about 3 weeks ago. Miss Amy, I was preaching for Brother Mike. Miss Amy said we're going to have the ladies' meeting. We're going to open it up. We said hold 30 spots for us for 2 days. Let us figure out how many's coming. And she did. I probably shouldn't have said that over the internet, but anyway, she did. She blocked those out for our church, and which we ended up filling that up. So as soon as I found out that she was doing it, you know what I done? I picked up the phone. I called the Ford place. A lot of churches is into buying new vans. I can rent them a whole lot cheaper from Brother Keith at the Ford place. Called the Ford place, said, give me 2 vans for this day. Now, you know what I'm going to do the week before that? I've already followed up with them again to make sure they've got them. The week before that, you know what I'm going to do? On Monday, before we pick them up on Friday evening, I'm going to call up there and I'm going to say, are you sure that you've got our vans ready? Yes, sir, we do. And you know what I'm going to do that Monday? Me and Brother Matt will go to the Ford place. We'll give them all the information that they need. They'll get our driver's license. We'll fill all the paperwork out. That way on Friday when I get there, there's no kind of hiccup. I walk in, I get the van, and I leave with it. We started today planning for a senior citizens trip at the end of August. We've already called motels. We've already called sights and sounds. We're already putting vans on reservation. You say, preacher, why are you saying all this? Because I'm going to tell you something. If you're going to be productive as a pastor, you're going to have to learn to plan. Let me say this to you in closing. You need to learn to plan your personal life. You say, what do you mean by that? You need to learn to plan your studying. Now, y'all going to get mad at me, but that's all right. You want me to tell you the reason? A lot of you is going to wait to the very last minute to do your homework because you're not structured. You're not going to plan for it. You're going to go, oh my goodness, Liddy, I'm sorry. I didn't point nobody out right there, did I? Oh my goodness, it's the night before and Uncle John's going to kill me if I don't turn my homework in. And you struggle. And let me show you something. Don't nobody get mad at me, but let me just help you a minute. Because I was the same way. I promise you I was. And let me tell you what's going to happen. You're going to pastor one day. And there's a good chance you're going to be bivocational starting out. And you know what's going to happen? It's going to come down to Saturday night. And you're going to be scrambling to get 2 messages together to preach on Sunday. Because all during the week, you didn't plan any study time. You weren't structured at all. You didn't plan any study time. And now here it is Sunday night. And you're trying your best to figure out something to preach for Sunday. Plan your days. and let them be structured. You'll do a whole lot better with structure. I hate not having structure. My wife will tell you one of the things that just absolutely makes me want to pull my hair out is when things don't go according to schedule. Now there's times that your schedule is going to be disrupted. There's times the phone's going to ring and you're going to have to leave and go to the hospital. Are you with me? There's times, I'm a chaplain for law enforcement, there's times that the phone's going to ring and I'm going to have to go do a death notification. There's times that my phone's going to go off and it's going to be the active 911 and somebody in my community is really going to be in an emergency need. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go help them because I think the Lord, personally, I believe the Lord give me a talent to do that, and I'm going to go help them. But that should be the unordinary. That shouldn't be the ordinary. So learn to schedule your things. Leadership and planning. Leadership and planning. He talks about, and I really want you to read this. He talks about your staff meetings, meeting with your people, and saying, all right, the next 3 months, here's what we got. What do you need for that? We got a big cookout Saturday for the Young at Heart, not the Young at Heart, but the college and career. You know what happened yesterday? The guy that's cooking all of it, he come to the church, he looked at everything at the church, checked the gas in the tanks of the grill. Brother Matt has gone to Sam's this evening. Miss Linda Friday afternoon picking everything up from the meat center. It takes planning, and learn to plan. I promise you, your life will be a whole lot better if you'll learn to plan. Share that vision, man. Get that bit and share it. And when those people don't get it with you, hear me right here. God will give you somebody that will. God will give you somebody that will. And if it's the right vision and God's give it to you, I promise you God will help you if you'll be obedient to Him. What did Nehemiah do in 52 days? He built that wall back. Why? Because he knew how to plan. Father, thank you for this time together.